Welcome to this edition of Hardcore Wrestling Radio's In the Moment. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and I am joined by the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's up?
Not much. Waiting to hear to see what kind of stuff comes out today. It's Rick tonight is bound for glory, and it I want, as funny as it seems, me who always puts down TNA. I gotta say, I'm actually looking forward to the pay per view. See what kind of lies Dixie Carter is gonna present to everybody.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because obviously, throughout the years, people have said, oh, TNA is going to go down. Since 2014, they've been saying, oh, this is going to be the last year. Then 2015. Now, we're coming towards the end of 2016, and even though now she's finally getting into buyer to come in, we learned yesterday that there is a mystery person who shall not, I guess, won't be named, who is putting towards TNA. Now you would figure it'd just be for this pay per view, and then I was gonna say maybe it's WWE, but from what I understand, they're not just doing it for tonight; they're doing it for the future tapings.
Well, you know what? I've heard. See, this is the thing. I've heard different stories as well. I've heard that it was just for the pay per view tonight and for two TV tapings. That's pretty much what I heard. And again, Dixie Carter's promising this big story, but there's also, honestly, it's really, they haven't said anything else positive. They just said that this could be for tonight and for future taping. So we really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and then of course there's Dixie Carter herself, who's always in denial. Oh, we're looking for a great show tonight. We're gonna have, again, she says this too many times, breaking news, and usually it just turns out to be like nothing significant.
Yeah,
Um,
she's the fountain of misinformation here.
exactly. Bobby Lashley was in an interview with ESPN, and he did make a fair point, Joe. The Carters, Dixie's parents, they are billionaires. Now, we've read reports and heard reports that they finally said, "Hey, look, Dixie, we're cutting you off." But who's to say they didn't want to be investors themselves? Maybe they see the bigger picture down the road where say, "Fine, you know what? We'll buy it off you and eventually sell to WWE." I wonder if somebody's considered that aspect.
You know, and I would say, and I will honestly say, I think that's actually a good scenario. And also from what I understood, there's a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, that are saying that they're not happy with what's going on. They're not. It's all Dixie Carter's fault, which it is. And they want her out of there. So I would not be surprised at all if this is a form of this is a scenario where they actually, you know, I would say literally come down to, all right, we'll give you this money, but you're out. And Rick, I think if I myself always said it, I'm always bad mouthing TNA, but I think this time, you know, it's just closest to them being shut down or a takeover. The significance is TNA has never been anything extreme. It hasn't, from the, I don't know, what would you say, 10 to 15 years?
Yes, I definitely say that when they first started something almost a decade ago, they were really making their names, and then I'd say 2013, maybe even 14 is when they really started to shine. They had they had the TNA originals, which are now over at WWE, ironically. You have Bobby Roode, you have AJ Styles, you have Drew Galloway. At the time, the Dudley Boys was over there, Sting was over there, Kurt Angle. They had a lot of big names. Mr. Anderson was over there for a while, although I guess he's now kind of was released because I guess he has some drug problems. You have Brian Kendrick, who is now over on in WWE's cruiserweight division. So it seems to be like that cycle because now again, TNA has purchased several wrestlers or signed contracts with several wrestlers. Aaron Rex formerly known as Damien Sandow. They also have, well, they've had Drew Galloway, which was Drew McIntyre, their son Cody Rhodes, and his wife Eden. Although they can't use their names, but if TNA really saw the big, like possibly realized, hey, we're gonna go under very soon. Why sign these people? Why bring them all in?
You know what? I honestly think the reason they bought these people in for it's for a common reason. I think they bought them in because they want to do something where they could say, "Look, uh, geez, we're doing this. We want to bring these people in." You know, it's maybe this is a thing that if everybody sees that they can bring them in, it'll work. It's and you can't fault these people for trying to come in and say, "Hey, guess what? Here's a mark over here. Let's literally go in and check it and see what kind of stuff she can use." But yeah, like I said, it's really up for grabs to see where this goes. And I think out of every TNA pay per view, I don't really watch the what you call that, their
Impact.
yeah, the impact. I look at everything as I never really considered watching. So this is a situation that I'm actually looking forward to see what they can do
Well,
and what happens. I think tonight we should get together and say, hey, you know what? Let's see what happens here.
and that's definitely up for grabs. The son of a bitch Andy contacted me earlier, and he was like, where can we find it? I'm gonna see if it's on pay per view. If it's reasonable price, like $10 or $15, I'll do it. But if it's gonna be like $50, I'm gonna laugh, and I'm like, we'll find another public place that might have it. Um,
Yeah, you heard that, Finn. Now, now everybody talks about me. No, we do not. We we do not authorize the people going through that. So
yeah, no, we do not authorize streaming over in our chat room, which you can see the link above. But I want to get on to back to the WWE aspect of the possibility now, folks. This is strictly all speculation. Nothing has been confirmed. So when we sit here and Joe and I talk, right now we're just bullshitting or spitballing, if you will. So, but you suggested, Joe, that what they should do is they should, if the WWE purchases it, they should have it rival NXT. And I think that's a bad idea because NXT is a great product, and I just don't think it would fit well, and I think there's already too many brands as it is. Library, yes, but an actual show, it would just be an insult.
well, you know what? Here's my really. Let me put my frame of thinking here. The reason I said it seems to be a good idea, and I'll tell you why. If anybody was gonna purchase anything from this, you know, pretty much this menagerie that they have, I think in all honesty, I would say bring it in as because let me give you redo my thought here. Triple H owns NXT, or at least that's his brand. If they wanted to do something where they want to rival that brand because let's say they hate Triple H or whatever have you, this will make a good it will be a good idea because as we've seen with many former TNA guys, as much as I joke about it, they actually are known. And this will be something that will be really good if you see it because they can say, hey, guess what? We have the former how can I put it? The former
TNA guys.
TNA guys, thank you. Brain that's thinking, see, I'm thinking too much of TNA, so it's like my head hurts. Um the former TNA guys can now go up against their compadres.
Well,
It's like, guess what? Now we're here. This is our home, and it's time for us to take over. And it's something that I think, Rick, it's should be interesting.
well, you said takeover, and let me ask. I could see one pay per view maybe a few things leading up to it, but NXT's pay per view now is called Takeover. They've done Takeover Dallas. They've done Takeover Brooklyn twice. Um, but maybe they could do that. NXT takes over TNA, where, as you
Or
said,
not, you know what? No, it will be the opposite. Because look at the significance here. The significance is the former TNA people, Joe, Aries, Rude, all these guys are now in NXT.
that's my point.
Now,
NXT.
but check this out. Now you have Damian Sandow, you have Cody Rhodes, you have, who knows, Adam Rose or anybody else that want to come in. It's funny, you can use these former WWE guys who are now allied with TNA against NXT or against the WWE.
I
It's
think
like,
that would be a mistake, and I'm going to tell you why. Let me jump in here for a minute. Now, I understand where you're going with this. You're talking about the former WWE guys against the NXT guy, or we'll say TNA originals who's over on NXT to simplify things, and that to me I think would only hurt people such as Rhodes, Sandow, and several others. I mean, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna have the NXT top guys or even the TNA originals coming in saying, you know what, you were foolish enough to stay here. Now we're gonna make you pay for it, and you're gonna take care of those guys. Maybe EC3,
yeah,
Abyss. Um,
yeah.
they could they could even use Jason Storm as like maybe a pivot, saying, you know what, you had the chance and you left to come back to this. If they went that route, it'd have to be one show. I would not want to see it to be a dragged out, 3 or 4 month storyline. Maybe a couple weeks leading up to it, and that's it, and be done with it. NXT comes out on top, and they move along.
And that's exactly what it will be. But it will give something for the former TNA people a chance to, for all extensive purposes, have a chance in there. So, you know, it'll give the old WWE guys a chance to like prove themselves again, even though they shouldn't need to prove themselves. But it will be a situation where they can come back and say, "Hey, guess what? We're with this company and we're looking to take you guys down." I honestly I think it's a good idea compared to what they're doing now. So I don't know. I just feel that would be a good concept for them.
Uh, well, I want to stay on course with it. Again, WWE has put a bid in, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen in that with that situation. Dixie Carter. Unfortunately, Pride has not been the best for her. She's Because of her pride, the company has gone downhill and downhill and downhill. So who's to say Dixie Carter's going to flip the proverbial bird to everybody says, nope, you're not getting the library. You want the TNA name? Fine. You want the six-sided ring thing? Fine. But guess what? You even want the contracts? Fine. But the library is mine. Anything from today to from like 10, 12 years ago, all mine. Because if you look at it, and the funny thing is, I have been watching TNA over the past couple of weeks, and there are a few storylines where you just shake your head, and there's gonna be storylines for those who haven't watched it, like what the fuck happened, such as the broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero storyline, which there's some parts that's kind of painful to watch, and other parts where you're just laughing your ass off. It's kind of like where New Day first started. New Day, you look at it and you shake your head, and then as time went on, it became funny. And I think that's what they're trying to do. I think the Hardys are trying to recreate themselves to a point. Good, whether it's good or bad, I doubt it. If they ever went back to WWE, they're going back as the classic Hardy Boys.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. They're not going to be that.
Brooke,
They're not going to be the little the broken Hardys, whatever
Brother
crap.
Nero, yeah.
Yeah, they're just simply going to be that group that they're just going to be the Hardys, and it's like I said, I honestly believe we can see a lot of old I would have to say some old um, flashbacks that they'll try to do with the Dudleys again, and with something at least one time, a one-time deal, which will make even the marks happy. Everybody will go and look and says, "Yeah, that's what I want to see." So I
Absolutely.
think it's a possibility, and I think Matt Hardy slipped something. I don't know if he slipped, if it was something that he didn't mean to push out, but he
I
did say something about Monday night.
well,
So again, that's what kind of pushes me into thinking,
yes,
I
and
wonder if this could be something that,
I think that's what you know. Though that was intentional. You know what? I think he was. It was very, very cryptic, but it was almost like you said. It was very obvious. You know, He's saying, I have a premonition. I can see the outcome of TNA, and I know where I'm going to be on Monday. Now, some would think, okay, fine. This is going to be their last pay per view, and they're being, and WWE's purchased them, so they're going to be on Monday Night Raw. If that's the case, I will be shocked. But to be honest with you, he could say, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out on YouTube with the title. Now Monday, I know where I am. I'm now the tag team champions with my brother Nero. So you can't look past that. You have to accept until it's confirmed 100% that one company says you're ours. That's it. Now maybe they'll make that announcement tonight, but to be honest with you, until I hear, I've always been the person, yeah, I'll hear the rumors, I'll consider the possibilities, but until I hear 110%, I'm not saying yes or no. I mean, again, for all we know, I don't want to go back to the Carters too much to the point that they could even say, you know what, no, you're not ready to go down yet. We're going to give you another second shot because there are people that are talking to us, maybe even Billy Corgan, that's kind of pushing the way, saying, you know what, this company can go somewhere. I don't want to go too much on the Billy Corgan because Billy Corgan is a mark. You and I have talked about that too many times. But there is one last aspect that I would like to look at. And the rumors of Shane McMahon buying, TNA and running against Vince. And we've heard this time and time and time again. And while in the past, Shane has actually been distant from his father because they have had problems in the past. It looks like they buried the proverbial hatchet and now he's on SmackDown, which they're pushing. So why leave your own family's company to rival the other company? And even for a storyline, I wouldn't want to see it. And Joe,
yeah, not I'm here. Yeah, basically, I don't see him doing that. I could see him using TNA to pretty much just go against. I still stick to it. He'll use TNA to go up against the, you know, I, I see it go him going up against,
NXT maybe.
yeah,
No,
NXT. That's the only thing I can personally
I'm
think
gonna
of.
say no. I'm gonna tell you why. Because right now they're doing that brand split in WWE.
Yep, but you
Shane.
know what, Rick? Right now, because of because of what's going on with the brands and they're pulling people back and forth, NXT is slowly having ratings drops. So
Well,
I think if this is the case, they are looking at possibly you know doing something with that company, and I think that'll be really a good option to do.
well, okay. Since we're on the NXT subject, I think the reason why right now, again, it's going through a transitional period because a lot of the NXT guys that really, since the network came on, that really got them people like Finn Balor, Bailey, several others. Those are the ones off. Becky Lynch, Charlotte. All these people are being brought up. So they need to they need to kind of like bring some of the younger guys up and give them the chance. You have some of the NXT guys that are coming in that's making it not only making a name, but keeping people interested in that brand. So again, when I get down to it, I'm sticking to my guns. Shane's gonna stay on SmackDown, and continue that storyline. It'd be like saying, okay, fine, everything that we set up, we're gonna say we'll see you later, only because we bought TNA. If it was WCW back in the day, I'd be full tilt, absolutely, because they were a threat. TNA, was not even close to them. They couldn't even smell their fucking fart, a billion miles away if they wanted to. It's just not
Oh,
happening.
absolutely. They put like this, you know, TNA has for all the years they've been in business, they've never made it far. They've never gone anywhere.
Well,
And let me go into this and say, for all the time they've been in business, they haven't gone far. They have been basically just there. They haven't moved forward. You know, they spent more money on basically, bringing in former WWE talent than you know, focusing on something better.
yeah,
And they just never did that. They just never did anything.
yeah. So yeah, as you said, I think again WWE had. I'm sorry, TNA, as I fuck up there, had a lot of promising spots where they could have gotten to the next level, but for one reason or another, we'll blame Dixie management where they fucked up, and that's where they went downhill. But I want to wrap things up. So we want you, the listeners. What do you guys think about TNA? Do they still have a little bit left in them? Are these tapings, being covered, which the rumors claim that could be going on for the next several weeks? Or is this the final end? Is this the final nail in the coffin that's been the slow, painful death for the past 2 years? Put your comments in the comment section below. Make sure you follow us over at youtube.com/HWR show. But if you want to get in the conversation, if you got something on your mind and you want to say something on wrestling, say it how you fucking want to say it. Head on over to the group section on facebook.com and use the name HWR Chat Room. I'm your hardcore host, and once again, I'd like to thank the classic wrestling manager, Joseph Knight. Joe, this month you have a big event coming up. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Yeah, we're actually doing our big show. We're coming back with our CWA's Halloween Horror, Saturday, October 29th, Boonton, New Jersey. If you want to go to our website, which is cwazone.com, you can see all the information there.
All right, and with that, I'm your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see you